We must not just condemn these things, we must take action against them. We must deport from our country any temporary resident that is here on a permit or a visa that is carrying out violence or hate crimes on our soil.
It's almost as though the Liberals have forgotten that things on the internet live forever, and there are a lot of people out there who will go to great lengths to get the information that they need. We are going to be talking about that in regards to the election rigging, the election corruption that's taking place in the Trudeau government, and one final stand that Trudeau is taking that completely contradicts everything else he previously wanted to do. Shocker. Again, for the sole purpose of corruption, corrupting the system. We're going to be chatting Donald Trump, Colombia. That story's been in the news, as well as Canada's response, which is nothing short of absolutely delusional. Delusional is probably a good word to summarize everything we are going to be uncovering today. All that and more coming up on Over Opinionated with Jasmine Lane. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and give me a follow on other social media platforms as well.
This guy controls a media platform that could influence Canada's election, that he has shown a willingness to support far-right parties, that he's already interfered in Canada's political scene, supporting Pierre Poilievre, the MAGA Maple guy.
Oh, okay. Got it. So what this guy is actually wanting to do is to limit our free speech again, because free speech means disinformation and misinformation, of course. So this story actually broke a couple of days ago. It's been gaining a lot more attention as of late, though. And it is Charlie Angus, who is an NDP MP, and he's calling on Elections Canada to launch an investigation into Elon Musk and X, formerly known as Twitter. He says that he's very concerned about potential interference in the next federal election. He wrote a 2-page letter. Of course, we're not going to read all of it, but he goes on saying that, Elon Musk has formed alliances with right-wing populist leaders, that he's amplified extremist influencers and spread hate disinformation towards marginal groups. The thing about that I think is so funny is the simple fact that on X there's community notes, which is essentially like fact checkers. So if there's ever something that ends up being untrue, it gets community noted. So there's really no opportunity to spread fake news because of those. I've seen plenty of posts from conservatives and liberals alike that are claiming something, and then there's a community note under there saying, that's not quite the case, but alrighty then. He goes on to say that because Elon Musk, who is a free individual who has an account online, has praised the current leader of the Conservative Party and aligned himself with far-right influencers and their platforms that are criticizing the Prime Minister, that this is this immense threat. Angus also wrote, and I quote, that X serves as a pathway for Russian misinformation and the rise of hate and threats in Canada. Given X's huge power, any overt efforts by Mr. Musk to support a political party leader could easily impact our electoral integrity. How is this any different than having Liberal Party leaders endorsing Mark Carney as an example? How is this any different than having Oprah endorsing Kamala Harris? It actually isn't any different. I suppose the only difference is that Charlie Angus just doesn't like Elon Musk. And I'll be frank too, I do think it's kind of odd and weird, and there's been some alarm bells going off in my own head about some of the interactions between Elon Musk and how involved he was with Donald Trump. I do think that there is certainly a line between policy and also what you own. Normally, if there's conflicts of interest, you gotta scrap one or the other. So sure, that's a reasonable thing to say, yeah, okay, he maybe is more involved in the political landscape than he should be, given the fact that he also owns the social media platform. I think that's a valid concern to have, regardless of who it is. But then again, it's okay, well, what about the CBC? What about CTV? What about all of the other media outlets out there, some of them being conservative as well, that the Liberal government funds? What about all of those guys? And to be upset with people for spreading disinformation online is not really your job, my guy. People are allowed to say whatever the hell they want. We do not have that protected here in Canada, but nonetheless, you can say whatever it is that you want. If people choose to believe you for something that's clearly false, That's on them to do their own due diligence and their own research. That's not, like Charlie Angus, that's not your battle to fight there. Humans are free individuals, free to do whatever the heck it is that they want, to follow, praise, shame, whoever it is that they want. Welcome to life. You cannot control everything.
Well, Donald Trump, you're a disgrace as a human being. I'm sorry, you may have gotten the presidency, but you're a disgrace. You're a convicted felon. You're a pervert. You treat your allies with absolute disdain while you kiss up to Putin. Here's the thing. We are your best neighbor. We are your best ally. We are your number one trading partner, but we won't break, Donald, because you think your grifter politics can push us around. And we will continue to defend the international world order. We will continue to work with NATO. We will continue to work with Ukraine. So, Donald, I know this is a big diversion exercise for you.
Pretty sure that is the last guy I want giving me advice or instructing me how to speak and think and who I should support and who the threats are. Pretty sure that guy is the biggest threat. And he was completely okay with exercising his free speech to say all sorts of things about a man of whom he opposes. Also, fun little fact for you, I was not aware of this until just now. Elon Musk, his mom is actually from Saskatchewan. She later moved to South Africa. Yeah, Elon Musk also lived in Canada for a short period of time before going on over to the United States. It's not confirmed whether or not he does hold a Canadian citizenship. I've seen some reports floating around online, but I couldn't actually verify that. But what I could verify is that the Liberal leadership race is absolutely rigged. Okay, I'm going to play you this clip, and then we're going to discuss something very integral that happened just a few months after this interview.
Are you going to put your name on a ballot at some point?
Well, I mean, I'm taking steps to that support that. Look, the opportunity may present itself.
You are going to put up with an incredible amount of hate and an incredible, look what the Trudeau's got to put up with Trudeau flags. And his kids have to listen to Trudeau chants at Ultimate Fight events. So, you're ready for that?
Look, yes, is the short answer.
So as we know, Nate Erskine-Smith has declared his support and endorsement of Mark Carney. We chatted about that in yesterday's video with his weird little touchy-feely moment with Melissa Lantsman when she was actually questioning him, what did Carney offer you? What did you offer Carney? And he says, oh, nothing. And it's like, really? Nothing? Because every single person that has endorsed Carney, we know, has done so because there is something that they are getting out of it, whether that be climate policy partnerships, whether that be a partnership in terms of infrastructure, as it appears to be with Francois Philippe Champagne. But he says, oh, no, nothing at all, nothing at all. Here's the thing that's interesting, though. So this took place just a couple months back, and shortly after it, Smith was promoted to be in cabinet. And then Carney announces he's running to replace Trudeau. And Smith, as now a cabinet minister, somebody with much more glam to the name, much more influence than being a backbencher, now he endorses Mark Carney. That seems kind of weird, doesn't it? It seems weird that this guy is asking Mark Carney about running, and then all of a sudden gets this big promotion, and then all of a sudden endorses this same guy. Why were they doing an interview together in the first place a few months back? Why? And we don't have term limits in Canada either. And Justin Trudeau at that point in time was still telling the public, I'm going to run. I'm running. It's me, me, me. So why would somebody who is on the Liberal team supporting Justin Trudeau then go and ask an unelected official, an unelected billionaire, if he was planning on replacing the man of whom he was supposed to be supporting while under that position? Everything about this, just spidey senses, they're tingling a lot.
They're all just like Justin. They agree with him on everything. The only thing carbon tax Carney disagrees with Trudeau about is Carney says the carbon tax is not high enough. And he's going to try and lie to you about that over the next few months. But we have him on tape saying that the carbon tax needs to go up even more than it is already.
A steady increase in the price of carbon. Now, so far, carbon prices have been applied sparingly. They've been set far too low. Obviously, it would be easier if all climate policy could be reduced to carbon prices, although that will never come.
This as Canadians can't even afford to eat, heat, or house themselves. Chrystia Freeland, carbon tax Chrystia, she has brought in a deficit of $62 billion. And yes, she quit. Why did she quit as finance minister? Because Trudeau had told her the Friday before he was going to fire her. So she didn't quit because she was unhappy with the out-of-control spending in the government. She quit because she didn't want to lose her job. So they're all just like Justin. They've all helped him break the country. They will make things even worse if given the chance.
According to some polling data as well, it sucks that there's so many sources that do polling, and a lot of times the sample sizes are so low. Like I saw one earlier today on X where I can't remember what institution it was, but it was somebody who does polling, whatever. And they had said, oh, well, the Liberal Party was now, it was surpassed the Conservative Party. Like they went up dramatically since Carney was announced to be running. And then you looked at the sample size of the poll and it was like 900 something people. Like, who did you poll? Your friends and family and like whoever your Facebook friends list was? Like, really? The bots are working overtime right now to promote Mark Carney. And now we even have a lot of people who are saying for Trudeau to retract his resignation, saying the Liberals they're doing good again. Trudeau, come back, recall Parliament, let's go. The thing that they don't understand, though, when they're saying things like this is the simple fact that if Trudeau recalls Parliament, the government will fall immediately. They will be calling for that as soon as humanly possible. And there's a lot of other people, too, saying, oh, well, he announced he plans to resign, so he wouldn't even be able to do that. That's actually not true. Justin Trudeau could retract his announcement of planning to resign at any point in time. However, that would be a terrible decision, but he absolutely could do it. There's so many different ways that he could frame it, even just strategically. He could say that he's doing it to try to demonstrate how big of a fighter he is and that he's going to keep fighting for Canada, and given all this stuff happening with Trump, and he's the one to fight because, you know, whoever the next leader is somebody who hasn't ever dealt with Trump's administration before. That would be a horrific idea that I would not recommend. He could also try to do that to preserve his legacy, or if the party as well decided, you know what, actually, Trudeau, we got your back now, which I don't think is going to happen with Mark Carney being involved. That's been a part of the plan for a very, very long time. But just so that you know, legally, Justin Trudeau could retract his plan to resign. But even if he doesn't do that, he is certainly going to make it as difficult as possible for the Conservatives to be able to have any power in the government at all. This broke on CBC, saying Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is planning a final wave of appointments to fill the 10 vacancies in the Senate before he retires in March. A Conservative senator said, quote, for someone who advocated an independent Senate, Trudeau will have ended up filling the Senate with a large majority of Liberals or people who support his policies. Going on to some more info here, there were 22 vacancies in the Senate when Trudeau took power in 2015, and so far, he has appointed 90 senators in total due to various retirements, and there's still 10 positions to fill as of February 2nd. So in other words, while Justin Trudeau lied and said that, you know, he wasn't going to do anything like this in order to maintain an independent Senate, funny how easily he is able to then say, ooh, wait, we're actually going to have a Conservative majority, which I wasn't expecting, even though every sign pointed to this happening because I refused to listen to literally anybody other than myself and my inner circle. Well, we can't have that. We still need to have the Liberal Party to have a massive influence. We want all of our ideologies to have a massive influence, which would be exactly what would happen with a largely Liberal Senate, which it already is, by the way. I don't think that Justin Trudeau cares if he lies to us. He's been called out how many times. I don't think he cares if the public doesn't trust him. We already don't. And so this move definitely guarantees that regardless of the opposition, how loud, how strong it is, Liberal values will remain embedded in Canada's legislative framework, which is exactly why he would do this, because he is a not so sneaky snake. Moving on to the topic of what's been going on regarding the USA and Colombia and Donald Trump's influence and yada yada, we have a response from Melanie Joly, which is like, oh gosh, please stop talking. But I did also want to share with you Pierre Poilievre saying that he would absolutely deport illegals who are causing a menace in Canada.
That should not be taken for granted. We see on our own streets anti-Semitism guided by obscene, woke ideologies that have led to an explosion in hate crimes. Hate crimes were up over 100% in Canada before October 7th. Now they're up 251%, with Jews being the principal victims of those crimes. We must not just condemn these things, we must take action against them. We must deport from our country any temporary resident that is here on a permit or a visa that is carrying out violence or hate crimes on our soil. It was obscene that the IRGC remained legal in Canada for 4 years after it killed 55 of our citizens in the attack on PS Flight 752. It is outrageous that 700 IRGC officials are on Canadian soil, many of them living the lap of luxury on the fruits that they stole from their own people. And we must condemn when our own government gives grants for anti-racism to people like Leif Maruth, or appoints Birju Datani to head up the Canadian Human Rights Commission. We must stand up against these outrages and stand for bringing our people together, united in our common values.
According to Charlie Angus in the Liberal Party, though, that is like super crazy right-wing radical ideology that's being promoted by Elon Musk. So Colombia is a pretty good example of just how far Donald Trump is willing to go to get what he wants. And our own minister's response to it is really something. But so just to brief you a little bit, Colombia, I was actually there not that long ago, had initially refused the fact that Donald Trump was planning to use military aircraft to bring all of the undocumented illegal Colombian migrants back to Colombia. Didn't want them to be in military aircraft. If you've ever seen the inside of one of those things, it's not really the greatest situation by any means. So their president had said that their migrants had to be treated with dignity and not like criminals, even though they criminally entered the country. But whatever, okay, great. And so the big issue there was that he didn't want them to be taken back to Colombia in military planes. So President Trump said, you know what, fine then. This is what we got. This is what we offered. If that's the case, well, we're going to put 25% tariffs on all Colombian goods. We're going to increase that by 50% within a week if Colombia does not comply. We're going to have visa sanctions, a travel ban. We're going to have enhanced custom inspections for Colombian nationals and also Colombian cargo. So Colombia, in response to that, which is obviously a big whoosh, they said that they were then going to impose their own 25% tariffs on U.S. imports. Do you see how this sounds kind of similar now? And then he emphasized again that Trump's approach to migration and getting them removed from the country was not dignity-filled, and so he wanted them to be deported in a more humane way. Then, literally that same day, Colombia's president agreed to accept the deportation flights, including those on military aircraft, without limitation or any delays. He also offered up his own private airlines to help people get out of there even faster and much more comfortably than, you know, a military plane. And just like that, Donald Trump said, okay, that's fine, thanks for listening, and we're not going to have any of those tariffs or anything like that. However, some of the visa restrictions that he had said he was going to do are still going to remain, at least until the first deportees were successfully returned. Now, when asked about this and how similar the whole tariff thing was to Canada, here's what Melanie Joly had to say.
What you just saw happen with Colombia and President Trump, where he threatened tariffs, seems to have negotiated some kind of deal, and then he promised tariffs, and then that tariff threat came off. Did you learn anything, or did the cabinet learn anything about how Trump is wielding this tariff threat right now?
For us, we're looking at what is our approach, which is basically preventing tariffs and also making sure that we're ready. And we know that President Trump is using tariffs as a way to put pressure on countries. That's what he's doing, and that will continue. Meanwhile, we have leverage. We have also different levers. We are the biggest customer to the US. We are the biggest customer in 36 countries, 36 states within the US. So there are lots of allies in the US and also in Washington, and that's why we're doing the work, to make sure that ultimately we're able to get to a win-win situation. That's why we're addressing the concerns regarding the border, which is really important, and that we should never forget that this is a priority. It is a priority for us because we believe that we have to stop any form of illegal guns coming from the US and also any form of irregular migration coming from the US. And meanwhile, we'll continue to do the work on making sure that ultimately facts prevail, particularly when it comes to the fact that the US has a trade surplus with Canada when we exclude energy exports from Canada.
I mean, I don't really know how else to summarize it other than saying we are so screwed. Wow. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. I'd love to know your thoughts on everything we touched on today. You can share them in the comments down below. Like the video as well and subscribe to the channel. Give me a follow on other social media platforms if you haven't done so already. And I will talk to you very soon.